Busy people and lots of yellies, Worcester hipsters and fed up townies. We have more than pizza in common, with two rocks for bookends. New Haven, New Haven, New Haven, between two rocks.
And welcome back to Between Two Rocks Podcast.
What'd you do this weekend, Josh?
I'm your host, Josh Levinson. This is our second try, episode 22, I guess. I've had a pretty good day so far. I woke up at 11. I played video games. Why
are you telling me all this again?
You know, we have a good time here, and but sometimes, you know, we have technical difficulties. It's just the nature of this high-tech biz we're in, you know? And it's not just glitz and glamour and TMZ red carpets.
No.
Some of it is just re-recording the first 2 minutes of your podcast.
It's mostly that, again
I
and
would
again.
I would say for every listenable minute that people hear at home, we probably record 1,000 minutes.
Cutting room floor has tons of material.
That's right.
I did not book enough time for this.
Yeah, my timer's off now too. Gosh. So yeah, Colin, welcome back as always.
Yes, good to be here.
Yeah. And this week we're going full nerd this week. You know, most weeks we go pretty nerdy, but this week we're going full nerd. We have two of the board members of New Haven IO, which is a local tech community. I'm also a board member of this, but
I was
you know,
say,
just
call that three.
Yeah,
just
we need
a
full disclosure.
segue. Yeah, full disclosure for my advertisers that I'm also on this board. But I mean, I would say that my contributions are minimal, almost detrimental. So
Really? Nice.
yeah. Like when I work for a company, I feel like there's probably like a net loss overall.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping they break
that's
even.
good.
That's right. So yeah, thank you so much, Steve Voiles.
Hey,
You made a hand
yeah.
gesture.
That was a
That
guess.
was good. And
Am I on video
Henry
too, or no?
Quinn.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us, man.
Is there like a number after your name?
Henry Quinn the fourth.
Fourth. Whoa.
Wow, that's a lot.
We couldn't get the first three, obviously, too bougie. But
Wow. First one's probably dead, you got to imagine.
For a good number of years.
That's right. That's what he gets for talking to me. I don't know. So yeah, welcome guys. Thank you so much for coming out here
Oh, thanks for
Of
having us.
course, man.
and sweating your butts off here in the un-air conditioned studios of Powpav Tree.
Summer's in full swing.
Yeah, it is like 85 degrees today. It's pretty toasty. So, did you guys go to the beach today?
I did not go to the beach today.
No,
No.
I'm a sleeping giant.
You went to Sleeping Giant.
Yeah,
That's good.
it was
How's it
alright.
look?
Mostly the same.
Mostly the
Yeah,
same.
all the same trees are mostly there. They're some a little more sideways than they used to be.
I like the variety of that, though. You know.
I haven't been back there yet. How extensive was that damage that they just had to close the woods?
I know, right?
What was happening there?
Just like we can't trust people to go around.
I mean, yeah.
I just assumed the tree was
without a
ready
wide
to fall.
blazed path.
Yeah, at any moment, just
I assume those
crushed
trees
me.
are already down, right?
Yeah, I think they were clearing the path a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, that took 2 years, $14 million.
That seems appropriate. Cool. So yeah, New Haven IO. What is it?
It's a sex club, right?
Yeah,
Close.
in a way.
I think that's what started.
Yeah, that's right. Like most programming meetups, it eventually ends in an orgy.
Yeah. No, it's all BDSM.
It's an orgy of git commits. Well, alienated most of the audience now. It's good.
By mentioning Git, yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
This is gonna be. I was like, boy, this is gonna be a very niche episode. That's okay. We like to vacillate between listenable and unlistenable if possible.
Absolutely.
Odd numbers are listenable.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did y'all get? All right, hold on. Let's back up. New Haven IO is sort of a loose conglomeration of people who live in and around New Haven, who work in the tech community. I would say mostly software developers. There's a few sysadmins or various designers, if you will. And so I feel like it's like part Slack channel, part meetups, and part I mean that's really it, right? I don't know.
Emotional support group.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an important element, I would say.
Okay. In
There's-
what sense?
Well, there's just always something stupid at work, right?
Okay.
Like you're trying to figure something out. No one documented something. It's nice to have a place to go to lean on people and lean on isn't that necessarily the right phrase, but
Yeah, I mean,
ask
a
a
lot
question, rubber
If you
duck
could
even.
talk right into that
Into it,
microphone,
that would help a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that you're talking to Henry, but
Right,
like,
it's hard to break old habits.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's
Yeah.
fair.
Anything you knew about eye contact, just forget it.
Forget it all. Yeah, just
Yeah.
look at the wall.
I mean, I feel like as a computer engineer, you should already be well beyond trying to even make
Avoiding eye contact, right, yeah.
Like, why
It's kind
are
of
you
baked
even-
into the field.
Who are you trying to impress? Leaning on people, yeah. I lean on people heavily. The Ruby channel is mostly me asking questions about how to do my job.
I think it's important, though. We worked together also back
Yep.
in the day, and
Full disclosure.
right,
Full disclosure.
exactly. These are really important points.
Just to be clear, I was not fired by Steve. I just want everyone to know.
in case you were wondering.
That's right.
But we didn't really have anyone to go ask questions to, right? You're kind of just shouting into the void, like, "Hey, I don't know why this doesn't work, and it's due soon, but yeah, we'll figure it out." And I guess it's great that we did, but maybe it didn't have to be that insane either.
Yeah.
So having a place to go and ask a lot of different people with a lot of different perspectives and experience really does, I think, help, especially as you're kind of growing in that field, because there's just so much to know to be productive nowadays.
Yeah, and like my last job, I worked alone. I was like the sole web and infrastructure developer, and I had to learn a lot of crazy, complicated stuff on my own. And it was a lot of just crying and screaming into the void until I found I/O to just ask a ton of people questions, like everyone else said, about how to do my job.
Just to be clear, the Void is actually
The internet.
a nickname for my office that it was in the separate wing. I was a sole developer in my last job, and it's hard to learn on your own. Like when you get stuck programming, you get really stuck. And like my manager was like an IT guy. He couldn't help me. I would just be like, yeah, I can't figure out how to like make these attachments save to S3. And he's like, yeah, I don't understand any of what you're talking about. I'm like, cool.
Are you done yet?
Because the deadline is well past. But, oh, yeah, it's cool.
So how nitty gritty do people get in the, when they're asking for help? Is it, there's kind of like a fine line when people are asking you for something and you can give like, this is the way that I would approach it. And like, let me just see what you're doing. I'll do it for you real quick.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not the most active all the time, just as I have to travel from time to time, so I'm not always around. But I rarely ever see someone, what I would say, cross the line in terms of like, all right, I'm doing your job now.
Yeah.
Usually it's just, hey, Docker doesn't work the way I think it ought to. And I think we have a good amount of members that understand the problem probably is more in your thought process and understanding of the technology you're using, and less so in the way you're trying to use it maybe. So I
the
think
problem is that you're stupid.
Right,
And
yeah.
you tried being less stupid. Because it would be way easier to do your job if you were smarter.
That's all the chatbot says in the Slack channel.
Yeah, we program the bots to just, insult people.
Right, they're our automated trolling system.
And not to have like too cop out an answer, but it really kind of depends on what you're doing, what channel you're in. Because we have a ton of people who are new to the community just digging into JavaScript and asking some more basic questions on stuff they don't understand. But if we hop into like the DevOps channel, there's people asking some pretty granular questions about some pretty big topics that kind of encapsulate a lot of things, and it kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah. So how many people are in the group in total amongst all those channels?
I think in total Meetup says we have a little over 1,500.
I don't know how many of those members are active, though. If I had
3.
to guess, yeah.
If we're about to file
Us.
our IPO, it's ever.
I feel like in Slack there's probably like 60 to 80 people, roughly,
I'd say 60 to 80 active. I see like 150, 200 any given month across everything.
I would say at any given time I'm producing 40% of the text.
Yeah. Is that true?
Probably not, but I do a good share.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it really depends, because like we'll get into some pretty, especially like because like New Haven has a lot of Ruby developers because SQLite Fix is like a Ruby house, and like Yale has a weird amount of Ruby, so like there tend to be a lot of senior Ruby developers getting to some really esoteric conversations about like features of the language that like you may not see in other channels. And then also like I'll be like, oh, I have to do CSS, and then it's just like a nightmare. So yeah,
I assume we have a channel for that, right? Nightmares?
front end.
I think we
I
still
mean,
got a
front
rant
end
channel.
is basically a nightmare. Yeah.
So is all of this based around the Slack channels, or do you physically meet up in flesh space as well?
we meet
God,
up in
it's so
Flush
gross
Space
when you say it
a
like
bit.
that.
We have a couple different events we try to do, and we're trying to get the momentum going now that the end of the summer is kind of coming up. We have Josh throwing our social nights where we'll get a bunch of people together at a bar and just kind of hang out, get to know everybody. I'm trying to start a new series of events called Bite Brunches, where we all meet at Fussy Coffee on like a Saturday morning. Just get some coffee, get some eggs, kind of hang out, work on some projects together. Just kind of a quasi kind
You
of
could
hack
do
night.
that, Colin. You're pretty much there
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I'll probably be there.
Yeah. But not sitting with us.
No. No.
Way on the
Pull
other
my
side of
hat
the
down
room.
low when I spot the table.
This is enough association.
Toss his hoodie up. And then try to do once a month doing a big talk night where we have like 2 or 3 people come together presenting like 20-minute talks on, like last week we did databases. Next month we're doing IoT security. We're trying to do some DevOps and JavaScript nights. Just try to get people in the community teaching and learning and kind of feeding back into the community what they took out of it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I just take.
Yeah.
No, I put on the social nights, but really, like, it's mostly just like I pick a Thursday where I don't have anything going on. I pick a bar, and then I show up, and then I usually get booked for a comedy show, and I'm like, all right, hey, I actually have to leave after 15 minutes.
Just try to
so-
hand it off at the last
Then I have
second.
to take over.
That's all right. I'm really doing a bare minimum, but you know,
It's really effective
You
management
got the
style,
name
though.
tags though.
that's yeah. I did get the name tags. It's true. I'm a leader of men.
So
and
these
women.
these groups
Mostly
have
men.
meetups have name tags.
I mean, yeah. Somebody had the idea, and I was like, actually, that's a pretty good idea
Yeah.
for like the social night. You know, because names are hard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally care, but I think people do.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody ever write a funny thing on their name tag?
Oh, it's just a real riot out there, you know? It's just like so much good material you could fit on a name tag.
Yeah.
Programming puns for days.
I used to have this neighbor called Downstairs Dave because he lived below me, you know? And he used to do a lot of cocaine.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, he would just start like knocking on my door and I would open it and he would just be standing there without a shirt on, extremely excited about something.
Nice.
And he would just kind of like charge into the, you know, I don't know why that made. I thought of that.
Yeah, that's great. Sometimes you need a cannonball to just blast into your apartment.
Just like, whoa, hey Dave, how you doing?
What stack does downstairs Dave work in, Josh?
What's that?
What stack does downstairs Dave work in?
I think he works in the construction stack. I don't know. I saw him at a comedy show like a year ago. It was weird. So, yeah, name tags. No, yeah, we actually have some pretty clever people. There's some pretty good jokes in the Slack, you know. So I don't know. I haven't seen any funny name tags, but you know, I'll be on the lookout.
Name tags are new, though. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you know, people probably put a shape. That's hilarious. Well, there should be a name there. That's just a triangle.
You got hacked.
Now you're getting it.
I think that's Matt, right?
That's right. So how did y'all get involved in New Haven IO?
Probably more extensively the last 6 months, I would say. Although it's built for me at least over the last year or two with I'd say A100 when they departed. There was kind of like a hole I felt like in the community, and we used to sponsor those events at our office, giving people a place to come and play around.
Where's your
with us.
office?
Well, at the time we were in Wallingford. We're in New Haven now.
Okay, but what? Who are you?
Oh yeah, I'm with Acuity. We do building automation, a lot of lighting,
Okay.
energy efficiency, stuff like that.
Yeah, like I know that,
Right. I'm gonna take this for granted.
but maybe not every listener knows you by name.
I assume that when we cut the real version, you're gonna add in a lot of extra context as
That's
we go.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like footnotes for your ears.
Right. Yeah.
This whole thing is going to be annotated later.
Is it weird that I'll have done a podcast without having ever listened to any podcasts?
It's not. Whatever you do, don't listen to this one. Maybe this will be your first
Right. Yeah.
interesting introduction.
So we would host those kind of events at the office, and then I think we moved down here right as A100 was ending, and so that kind of stopped. And I think at the time Zach, he used to be friends with my brother, so I made kind of connections with him, and he was leading the community or doing a lot of the organizing at the time, and so put
Hold on a second. I just want to say that there's a guy smoking a blunt literally right outside this window.
boy, this is on
Oh, yeah.
camera, right?
Just making some real eye contact.
I don't know. I want to take a selfie.
He wants to show us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
All right. Can I flip this around? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
posing
make sure
for
you
it.
use the
There
right
we go.
Here's the
Ah,
right
camera, yep.
Yeah, we're doing this. Yes, look at this guy. All right, that's enough of that. Yeesh. Well, the window is
a blessing and a curse.
No, it's just a blessing. That's great.
nothing cursed has happened
Never
as
been a
of
curse.
yet. Yeah, no, it's only good stuff. And A100 was like a sort of a mini boot camp,
Well,
right?
don't knock on the window.
Yeah,
For front ends.
yeah, they were doing like an active boot camp just to get people introduced to the space, learn the basics, and try to find a spot for you to do some work, do an internship or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually where I met Steve.
Yeah.
I was in the last cohort of A100 before everything kind of folded. Just like a free 8-week-long summer boot camp trying to take you from nothing to web developer.
Yeah, I like the model. It just didn't work.
So are you just paying attention out the
Yeah,
window?
Yeah, it's very distracting.
I'm so distracted right now. This is one of those times where like maybe vaping before the podcast was not great, but yeah, there's just where I'm kind of watching this guy get reprimanded by a producer about smoking weed, knocking on the window.
It was just the knocking
Yeah, it
on
was
the
the
window
knocking.
part.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't care about the weed.
The dance
It's
was
funny.
fine.
It's funny because he was basically like, give me the microphone, like I'm gonna come on. It's like, nah, man, like I definitely don't need that.
Yeah. There's a window between us too. I mean,
Yeah,
just
like, whatever-
physically how?
Whatever you're gonna add to this conversation is not.
But it could be a new bit that's unexplored, right? Like just random passerbyers from the street.
Let's call it muffled yelling.
You'd be surprised. You don't want your average human being to get involved.
So is New Haven IO, it doesn't have anything to do with A100 though, in the sense that
No,
it's
no,
like leading to a job. Does it get co-opted by people looking for work or?
Yeah, this is, I mean,
Recruiting or
yeah, A100 was definitely a business that
Yeah.
intended to be, in theory, self-sustaining.
I think our goal for New Haven IO is to be the water cooler of the New Haven tech scene. So if people come in to ask questions, people come in just to like ask questions about soft skills at work. We have a jobs channel where people can say they're looking for work, or employers can say, hey, we're looking for engineer with XYZ kind of skills.
Has there been any success stories out of that people have gotten jobs or gotten an employee or anything like that?
We've had a good amount of people, I think. Good
Oh, for
jobs
sure.
through IO.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
People
it's a lot
totally
of-
get jobs.
a lot of networking, if nothing else. Yeah, they'll help you find a spot that maybe they've been in the past, and so they know the people that are there, the environment, the culture, and they can speak to that positively. Or
if someone's hiring for like a Ruby job, they'd be like, oh, Josh talks on the Ruby channel all the time. He actually knows what he's talking about. I should reach out
Whoa!
and-
Yeah, unlikely.
He
to
asks
come
lots
to
of
that
questions.
conclusion. Yeah, yes. Doesn't always seem to know any answers, but that he's asking questions is helpful.
one day you'll run out of questions.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of success stories in that sense, because you definitely, like, once you're a part of the community and people just look out for you and they're like, oh, like, all of people reach out and be like, hey, we're looking for a DevOps engineer, and I was like, absolutely not, will I ever go back to DevOps, but I know somebody might be looking, you know what I mean? So I think just being a part of the community helps.
Or
Yeah,
like in my case, when I was looking for a new job, I gave a 25-minute talk on an intro to Docker back at Agora. Turned into like a 50-minute long thing, and I got a few, like 5 or 6 offers for interviews just off of that talk alone.
Nice.
So that can be another good way to kind of get your name out there, so you're looking for work and start that conversation.
Yep.
All right, cool. We got through those questions pretty good. What do you think of the new Holberton School?
Are we all still thrown by the guy knocking on the window?
A little bit.
I
finally
think
split.
I'm over it. Yeah, I'm over it. I'm right. My brain is like ready to move on.
Good.
I just like, I don't know. I'm very transient. Like if something is happening in front of my face, I can't like help but like, whoa, what's going on there? But as soon as it's over, I'm like a goldfish. I'm like, all right, what's the other side of the bowl look like? What, a castle? This place is great. So the Holberton School is a new boot camp, I guess. I don't know. It's like a 2-year full-time thing where basically you go to school with them, and then once you get a position out of there, they take a certain cut of your salary for like 3 years or something like that, I think.
It's a 40-year boot camp. And when it's over, they get 90% of your salary.
For the next million years. It's actually really just a cult.
Yeah.
I can think of other words. But so what do we think of this, the Holberton School?
I think the concept makes a lot of sense. If nothing else, the incentives are maybe a little bit better aligned than a traditional university. You know, like UConn, I went there, I did fine. It was not a problem. But, you know, are they necessarily really incentivized to make sure I get a job? Perhaps not as much, right? In the global aggregate, they certainly are. But they're probably not anywhere near as invested in my individual success if they were getting a cut of my paycheck.
Oh, not at all.
Well, I
The
mean,
economics
you're not
of it,
gonna
though.
make donations if you don't have a good salary. They need you to do well.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but they don't really care about an individual.
it's a little more indirect,
More
if
in
nothing
aggregate.
else. Right, yeah, you're hoping that for that emotional attachment and go back to, you know, you go to the athletic events and donor events, stuff like that, right? But Holberton, they're getting a cut of your paycheck. So, you know, are those economics sane? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what they were charging. Like, what is it? What's the cut?
I honestly don't know off the top of my head. But I've
Yeah, I
come
don't
around
either.
to feeling a lot more positively about it. I had some negative thoughts when it first came up before I had some questions answered. But I started thinking about my own college experience where I paid to go to an expensive 4-year school and then ended up doing a very different career than what I spent all that time and money working towards.
Yeah.
So something like Holborn, where it's if you work the numbers out right, it can be free for students if they hit a certain, I think it's a financial bracket is the
Yep.
way the
Yeah.
thing works. But if you can get there for free, get all the training, get like working with companies to actually like use these skills in real time as you're learning everything, like in the workforce, I think it'd be a really cool way to skill up and get ready for work.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of need to figure out a better way to train engineers. You know, traditional university school, it's university school. That was nice. It's
Oh, we were all criticizing you in our minds, but it's good that you.
yeah.
dumb
Thank you.
dumb
I'm
over here.
gonna call that out.
Oh
Right.
boy, you ever like meet somebody and they went to the same school as you, and you're like, boy, I guess it wasn't that good of a school.
That's how you feel right now.
Yes. It's actually a joke right on somebody else who also went to UConn, but in this moment, it's a great use.
But you know, university isn't necessarily going to teach you a lot of the things you need to be a professional engineer. It's not. They're not going to teach you how to keep a site up. They're not going to teach you about cloud pricing or working with a large group of people over a long period of time, adapting someone else's code. Right? You're doing a lot of turn and burn theoretical stuff by and large. At least that's how it was in my computer science degree. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to find a better way to do that, so people are more able to contribute after the right after they graduate.
Are you saying that most jobs are not actually just like writing your own Linux kernel?
We wrote our own shell, and I have to do that on a weekly basis.
Oh, all the time. It's like, oh, my shell's broken again. Look, so I
Just
gotta
do it from
rewrite
scratch, right? That's the way you do it. Extreme programming.
I cannot tell you how many times I've compiled the Linux kernel from nothing.
Absolutely, yeah. You know what they say? Definitely reinvent the wheel every time if possible.
Have you guys worked with anyone that's come out of any of the boot camps?
We had an intern from the A100 program, and that worked really well for us. We weren't able to take as many as we'd always wanted to, but in the few instances that we did, they usually worked pretty well.
Yeah.
People are motivated, they're asking a lot of good questions, and that's really all you're ever after from an intern or as someone at an entry-level position.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They're like, they ask good questions. They're like, do you really think Saudi Arabia funded 9/11? I don't think so. Lizard people. And you're like,
Yeah.
I like how you're asking these questions. It's good.
Yeah.
These are good interview questions.
These are good. That's right. Can you explain how the Pentagon toppled? That's how I like to do that's a technical interview. It's all structural engineering. All right, nice. A few 9/11 conspiracy theories. Check that box.
Yeah.
In the first half hour, too. It's pretty good. Better than average.
Hitting our marks.
Okay, so we think I'm kind of torn on it myself with the Holberton School thing, just because I do think there is something to be said for the traditional college experience in terms of creating sort of well-rounded people who have like taken some, like, as much as I love to joke about not being an artsy person or I'm not like big in the humanities or whatever, I do think that like taking, for instance, like Native American anthropology was sort of eye-opening in terms of, oh, this is like a thing that happened in our country and like all the ramifications of those cultural, whereas if you just do 2 fucking straight years of coding, I don't know that it turns you into a more normal human being.
Yeah, I don't know that would necessarily be the case, and I suppose that's the thing. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing that strictly says that a university program is a 4-year is better than 2 years. I think you can certainly contribute to a meaningful software project with less than 4 years of general experience not related to technology.
Yeah,
It's
I
also
think,
worth
I think if
noting-
anything, you could do better with just a targeted focus. But yeah, I think it's more of like the holistic person. A lot of colleges just to be socialized.
Yeah, I think it's a nice option to have available to you. Again, if I were to do it, I would look at the economics of it because
Yeah.
I think that my bet is, watch the average salary because it's like you do it here and then you go to San Francisco and you can pay like 8 times that, your salary to live. Mm-hmm. But
I think it's
it'll
worth
certainly look
noting-
good.
I think it's worth noting too that the Holborn School is actually based out of San Francisco.
Are they?
So
That helps.
Those engineers are just kind of a different breed.
Well, I mean, the economics are totally different living here versus there, right?
Yeah.
So you just got to, like most things, do your research, know what you're signing yourself up for, and be comfortable with it. Maybe a 4 year is not for you. Okay, great. Look for another option.
And if nothing else, you attend an elite Northeast private university and get your English degree, and there's no way that could go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about networking.
That's right. All right, cool. So another thing I want to talk about, and this is sort of a weird cultural problem, and I don't expect us to solve it right now, but it's something I think about frequently, is that the tech scene in general is very male and very white, and New Haven IO is not particularly different in that sense. You know, like, do you feel any responsibility to work on that? Like, how do you address it? How can we as a community address that? Like,
what do you guys think about the whole race and gender thing? Can you solve that?
tell me about sexism and what you would solve it with one concise piece of literature. Go.
What? Wow. A pre-written piece of literature. I did not do that kind of research on the way here. You know, I mean, I think you have
words
to,
or less.
a short story, preferably. I think you have you
guess a
do what you
parable would
can.
work.
I think to impact it. You know, like I think for us, as you know, like it was said earlier, a loose association. Really important. You know, people can come in and out of the community. That's great. We want to accept a lot of people, but we need to watch out, be actively on guard for anything that would be detrimental. You know, we're not in a position where we're necessarily doing a lot of formal training or anything like that, right? So it's we can't positively, I think, impact things from that angle, but we can definitely focus on just the general vibe, the community, and the support. And there have been instances in the past where, you know, I guess the leadership of the community did have to step in and actively kick people out that were causing problems.
Because girls were getting in the group and that kind of thing. Had to kick them out.
I'm going to avoid making a bad joke.
Oh, Colin is good for one of those. He somehow always roots for the bad guy.
Well, I feel like really like just adding a landmine right in front of me. Are you about to step there? Here, let me dust that off for you.
But also to that point about inclusiveness, I've been talking with Rainer Paskowitz, one of the leaders at Google Developer Group New Haven. They're actually putting on a conference next month, or GDG New Haven Dev Fest. They had some interest in working with us specifically to kind of work on this women in tech problem and have a few joint events where we have women speakers come in from different technologies, have more of like a woman kind of centric event where we're trying to get them involved, specifically show that there are these growing numbers and it's not as much of a boys club as it necessarily used to be.
Lean in, me too.
Oh my God, I fucking hate you so much. Well, you know, we try, but Colin just can't be helped. It's nature, you know. So, just boys are like that. You know how they be. Yeah, no, it is. Could you tell me more about this person who got kicked out? Like, what did they say specific? No,
We having that discussion today?
Yeah,
No,
Again?
yeah.
no, but there are, because especially like when you get 40 or 50 people in a Slack channel, it takes like people. I mean, never mind the sort of like edgelord joke that you might hear one off, but there are people you can't speak to everybody's values. You know what I mean? People come from all kinds of different backgrounds, and so if somebody's going through something and they're just, I don't know, people go through shit and not everybody gives everybody the benefit of the doubt, and you just got to be real careful to try to keep people like, you know, keep it all cordial and, you know.
Were people kicked out of the group? I mean, what was going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were comments made that were, I'll say, not inclusive for sure on a regular routine basis after several people had made an attempt to correct the situation. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to have to actually kick people out of just a group chat. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's what it comes to eventually.
Welcome
sometimes.
to the internet.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, 40 people is enough to generally be the internet.
But so
just
are
kicking-
these people anonymous that are in the group, or are they attached
Not
to real
typically.
humans?
Typically attached
I mean,
to a
you
real
know
name.
who they are,
Oh,
right?
I
you
have
can
10
choose.
different accounts.
Yeah. It's just incoherent babbling in between them.
Yeah,
Typically
that's
people are
correct.
associated with a real name. And kicking that one person out kind of caused like a bit of a controversy in the community for a few minutes as people were saying like, well, what if I say something a little bit off color? Is that going to get me kicked out? Like, it was just one dude being a bad guy for a long time. And like we've, as a team, took that, learned from it, realized we need to act on this stuff a little bit sooner. We're always trying to be better about protecting everybody. That one got away from us a little bit, but
Yeah, I mean,
it's the first time we've had to kick somebody out, so it's a learning process.
Was it like racist stuff, misogynistic, or what?
Usually more, I'd say a grab bag. Usually it would lean more on the misogyny side, but certainly that wasn't the limit of it.
He was very careful about trying to toe the line and just went over it a few too many times.
Yeah. Sometimes it becomes nationalism, which is weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to police this stuff, you know, but I think what's important is generally people are paying attention to it and on the lookout for it, and not just taking it for granted that everyone has best interests at heart, or, you know, however you want to look at it. So
Yeah. I try to diffuse with humor. That's usually what I do. I'm just like, hey, are you sure you want to say these hateful things? Can you maybe just chill out a little bit instead of that?
Right. I mean, and it's important to be loud and vocal about it to a certain extent. I mean, that's what we like about the community is that people can come and go, but at the same time, people can come and go. Right?
Yeah.
Like we don't do background checks.
You can go.
You should.
Yeah, we got to start.
Nice. More overhead, please.
Yeah, we're taking donations purely for background checks.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Do we take donations? Is that a thing?
No.
Okay, I was going to say.
If any technology companies in New Haven are out there and are interested in kind of getting their name out, we accept donations in the form of offering us space for events or buying us pizza. If you want to hook
Good
us up with
segue.
that, we can give you a 5-minute spot to kind of pitch and talk to our developers about job openings you might have.
It's pretty much how the entire thing's monetized. It's just through pizza. That is the only monetization we are interested in. So that is an interesting side of it, too, is like you'll sometimes have companies who sort of want to use New Haven IO as sort of a launching pad. Like they want access to the people in the community to either like pitch their jobs or whatever. And it's just like, they're like, oh, like you could be a whole part of this. And we're kind of like, we're pretty happy just being a bunch of chill people who are, you know what I mean, geeking out together.
So our company's looking to come in and like advertise directly or what?
I think it's more that like there was some notion of maybe having like a job board or something like that that people would be able to have sponsored access to, you know what I mean? Like more direct access to like the community to be able to like advertise better to us, you know?
Gotcha.
We have a jobs channel on the Slack, but the problem with so many people is that we can't afford to pay for the paid model. So after so many messages, everything just gets gobbled up by scroll back.
Gotcha.
So people can post
Okay.
jobs that won't necessarily stay there for too long. I might go above the fold and disappear forever. So they're trying to find ways to better reach people
Okay.
more in meaningful ways.
Yep.
But we're more like, no. Once it's in the ether, that's where it belongs.
Yeah.
So, all right. District is a word I just said.
District, respond.
District. So district is a new-ish space. That's where Holborn is, right?
Yeah.
It's like a former bus depot, and now it's a co-working space / barbecue / yeah.
That's
CrossFit? Yeah. I feel like this sentence is going pretty good so far. I'm ready to take a break. But you're not involved in any of that, right? Like,
Not directly.
because like I know that's like kind of like the beloved like tech hub of New Haven. You know what I mean? I know the state really wants it to succeed.
Well, it
right?
certainly has the eyes, right? I mean, it's got
Yeah.
funding behind it, so a lot of attention is certainly being paid there.
So cold and gray in there. It's perfect.
Is it? Have you been in?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I've not
It's all
actually
concrete and glass and steel.
been in. Perfect. We don't want these engineers to feel feelings while they're writing code.
Their
Well, it's just
laptop
funny
can keep
'cause,
them warm.
Like a lot of the people from that were at the Grove moved over there, and it's kind of it's like night and day. At least I think it is.
Yeah. The
in
Grove
terms of-
closed. Or
I know,
Agora
Agora.
closed. Yeah.
Agora closed the Grove.
Agora closed. That's right. So you work at Fussy Coffee, right, Colin?
I work at home.
Oh, you work at home
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, right. You have a baby now, I guess. So
I do.
before it was more like, oh, let me get out of this house. Now you're like, I probably should take care of this child or whatever.
Pretty much. No, I mean not even that. It's more just some running around between the houses as well. So doing
That's right.
the
You
real
are a
estate
local
thing.
real estate developer as
Yeah.
well. You gotta be. You gotta be a real estate developer in this town. That's just the rules.
Yeah, everyone really should be both a programmer and a real estate developer.
That's right. If you're age 30 and you're not already a real estate developer / programmer, you are behind.
Got to get to a boot camp.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, I don't know. Any opinions on district?
I think it's cool. I have a lot of friends over there. Seem to really enjoy it. It was cool when Agora was still open, having that kind of difference of spaces. If you wanted to be a little more creative, Agora was kind of the spot. If you want to be a little more startup-y, kind of going for the Bay Area eventually,
Yeah, I think
District was the move.
that's what I liked about Agora, that it was all just kind of warm and funky over there, and I don't know, it was more of like a community feel type of space.
And personality.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a little bit of a lack of that in New Haven right now. I wish there was something would kind of rise up in that same vein. District is definitely geared towards companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just leasing space there as Colin.
I mean, you certainly can.
They have the Drive. It's a similar co-working space to what Agora was doing.
Okay.
How much does that cost?
Roughly same prices as Agora last time I checked.
Which would
Might be a
what?
little more
Does anybody
expensive. I think
know?
it was like $300 for a dedicated desk for a month, give or take, maybe
Interesting.
$50.
All right. Cool.
$99 for 10 days a month.
Okay.
and they
think
barely
first Fridays
counted how
are free.
often you were there.
So if you're looking to figure out a way to scam small companies
Yeah.
for desk space, this is the podcast for you. All right. In 5 years, what would you like New Haven IO to look like? What would what's your I don't want to call it end game. In 5 years, when the earth is scorched and the seas have dried up, and we're all hunting for that last fish, what do you think New Haven IO will be like?
I'd be pretty amped if we still exist in the same vein that we do now.
Yeah.
I think IO's strength is that 11, 12 years ago when this started, there were a ton of disparate programming groups in New Haven. There's a specific Ruby group, specific PHP group, all these different technologies, everybody meeting separately, trying to keep all these calendars straight. And IO kind of came to be a thing to kind of pull everything together under one banner to create one big technology group in New Haven so anybody can come to any given event, keep the whole community tight with all the different technologies and stacks and new things everybody's using. So as things kind of come and go, I've seen New Haven IO kind of stand tall and kind of keep its place through all that. So I'd be amped to see us just be where we are.
Do you get some
honestly.
sick thrill out of those other groups being crushed?
It excites me in a strange way, yeah.
Nice.
No, I mean, it's
What an
always a
honest
bummer.
answer. Didn't anticipate that.
It's always a bummer seeing people put effort into something and have it kind of fold. But I try to reach out to people when I see these groups start up and say, hey, I see exactly what we're trying to do. We have a ton of members trying to come to events. We only may have a certain amount active on Slack. We have a ton on Meetup that just come to events and kind of work in the background. So even if you want to keep your own thing going, let us know if we can like cross promote, get people going to your events. Because there's a new Haven Kubernetes user group that just popped up, and we have a ton of people in our DevOps channel who are like either using it at work or starting to learn all these new container technologies. So we're trying to find ways to cross pollinate.
So you're kind of like a meetup group bully. You're like, quit your shit and just come join ours.
I think that's the way a lot of people see us. It's really not what we're trying to
Is
do
that true?
at all.
He has a baseball bat when he goes to other people's groups. That's why, you know?
So it's sort of a tech mafia.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Just pay your protection and there won't be a problem.
That's right.
I've heard us described
And of
like
course,
that.
we only take payments in pizza.
Right.
It's like you have to provide me 100 pizzas a month, or we will destroy your meetup group.
I mean, is that actually true? That there's people that would rather the group be something different, or whatever their niche is, have it come up and become the thing, or
I
what?
say we get into this right now. Hell yeah, there are people who want things to be different.
Yeah. I mean, that's always a discussion. Should we be doing more? Should we be doing less? Right? I mean,
I agree. I vote less.
You vote less.
Always.
We might have a quorum here, actually.
The key problem we tend to have with that is people will come to us and say, hey, we really want more of X, or we really want this event Y to happen. And we'll say, all right, cool. Do you want to help us organize it? And then everyone's like, oh, no.
Of course.
That's not at all what I was trying to say. So it really comes down to an effort problem where there are like 4 people on the board of directors right now. One has a new child, and that's kind of been eating up some of his time.
Worst.
Some of us have been traveling a little more for work, so it's always kind of like a balance act to try and just
Once
keep
that
what we
kid is
have
like
going.
2, though, it shouldn't
going.
be a problem anymore.
I assume it's self-sufficient by then.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just put it in the biopod and call it a day.
Change your diaper.
So we're doing our best to kind of meet the needs of everybody in the community, but at a certain point, we all have our own day jobs. We have our own social lives going on. We're trying to keep the wheels moving as best we can.
Well, and I get the impression that people are happy with what we're doing right now, so it's not. It's almost always additive. Like, oh, can you, like you kind of said, oh, can you have this meetup or that meetup? And until we get to the point where I think the members have a critical, you cross a critical threshold where everyone is saying in unison, hey, we want to do this thing. Well, then maybe that's when we have maybe a harder decision about where to go. I think, in 5 years, if everyone still wants us to keep doing what we're doing now, great. Then I'm thrilled. I mean, there's always value in having that loose association of people that you can easily come in and learn from and integrate with and, make connections that should be independent of a specific technology or something like that,
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Great. All right. So let's play some games. It's about that time, I guess.
Let's play some games.
Let's play some games. Yes. Someday we're gonna get some music. I was thinking about that. We should
like intro music.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should pepper it in there.
Absolutely. That's something we can do. I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, he's nodding.
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll try to think of some songs. I don't know how it works if we have to be in public domain. I don't think we can just use
Just make them sue you.
It's true.
Some good
That'll get our
notoriety.
name out there.
Listen, if this is the only way to get Taylor Swift's attention, I'm not gonna. Right. Which one do you want to play first, Colin?
Which ones are on the docket?
The usuals.
The usual suspects.
Mayor for a day, steal something,
Let's
fuck,
do
marry, kill.
Mayor for a day.
Mayor for a day. Okay, so Mayor for a day is basically I give you a cool $1 million,
Ooh.
and you can do anything you want with it in the city of New Haven. No alder approval or anything. No questions asked. What are you gonna do?
I think you can't ignore what is the Church Street wind tunnel. Something has to be done about that.
And just to be clear, you do work on Church Street, right?
Correct. Yeah. So this is in my best interest, really.
The
Yeah.
Church Street wind tunnel, do you just mean it's windy on Church Street?
It's extremely windy on Church Street all the time.
Yeah, do you not know about this? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's insane. It's fine right now in the summer, but boy, in the winter is brutal.
Oh yeah, it's
Rough.
awful. And all the food trucks are there. I mean, that's like local lunchtime Commerce Street right there. You know,
Yeah.
like something has to be done.
It's you.
It's like,
what do you
and mostly
propose?
the
I
lawyers.
don't know.
Yeah. We have to build a wall.
Some sort of
I-
countervailing
This is
winds
true. I
on
don't
the
see
other
how
side?
a wall. Yeah, we could push winds against it. That might
Yeah.
help. I mean, that would probably cost a lot of money. So
I know that they say walls aren't the solution to every problem, but in this case, it feels like the
yeah,
solution.
yeah, it does feel right.
It does feel good to say put up a wall. It's true. There's something.
Or I don't know if you put up fins. Like I don't know how it works.
True.
What if you wear some sort of wind suit? It makes you
More
Less susceptible to the
aerodynamic,
wind.
maybe. Yeah,
Find a way to turn that into renewable energy.
yeah. That could work. We just stand up more
what if
windmills.
we were the batteries?
Yeah, you wear. You
have to wear.
turbines.
Yeah, you wear. Yeah, I like the route this is going.
We turn humans into kilowatts.
Right. And there's got to be plugs along the street that you can plug into to feed the energy back into the grid as well. So,
So you started with 1 million. Now you've got 10 million.
nah, that 1 million's enough to get the budget approved, and then you spend 10 million.
Cool. What about you, Henry?
I was thinking about this a lot this morning.
Don't say human wind turbines.
Mistake.
I wouldn't over prepare for this podcast. Set a bad precedent.
The fun answer that I have two answers, like a fun answer and the practical answer. The fun answer
You are
We'll be
is
the judge
Loud.
whether it's fun or not.
I'd like to see a lot more
Hold
bike
on. We'll
infrastructure.
put my Fun Police hat on.
I'd like to see a lot more bike infrastructure in New Haven. I know a lot of it's been coming. I think the big
It's
issue I've
not
seen.
coming. It turns out my friend who's on the inside told me that there were no bids for the Edgewood bike lane.
Wow.
So apparently that whole RFP is just sitting around.
That's
which
a
is
bummer.
Cool. Yeah, you know.
Like even the bike lanes we have, they aren't super protected, and like once like the snows
Getting
come,
walls.
everything just gets blown into the.
You know, you have a
Bike
good
paths
plan
and
where we're
there's-
like, okay, we have this shovel-ready project. People are like, well, I'm not so interested in that.
Screw goodwill with the
that's how you
townspeople.
Trust a city.
Why'd they get no bids? Do they list a
I don't know.
cost range or?
I don't know. I need
Yeah.
to just harass Doug Houseton on Twitter until he answers me, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the only way to deal with civic government
Was
is
it
to
not
tweet
a-
at them.
Was it not enough bike ramps?
It's probably right, yeah. I honestly have no idea. I don't know, because they are removing a lot of parking spaces or whatever, but like I feel like the whole plan was already set up. It's weird to me that there were no bids. It makes me feel like they thought they could do it cheaper than they could. I'm not sure. So.
I mean, sometimes those bids, they're looking for a certain set of criteria that your company has to,
Right.
be carrying a bond of X amount, and there just might not be companies that want to get involved with whatever their criteria was.
You'd
Maybe
have at
they
least two
purposely
employees
made it-
named Charles.
Yeah,
and be like,
exactly.
"Oh,
There wasn't
Made
even
it
like a
so
joke
arduous that it couldn't be done.
Anyway, we really sidetracked. I'm sorry, Henry.
You're good. The practical answer is dump it into.
Wait, the fun answer was bike infrastructure?
Fun answer is
Oh
bike
my
infrastructure.
god. Okay.
It's nerd day, right?
Phone police here. Sorry, you are going to be flagged for that was not that fun. Okay, go on. What's your practical answer?
Practical answer is dump it into computer science education for kids. I've learned
Kids,
recently.
they're the future.
I've learned recently that when Connecticut has certain qualifications people need to meet to be like a history teacher, a math teacher, a science teacher, there are no qualifications at all for people to be a computer science, any kind of.
Perfect, because
Programming
I
teacher.
know this guy who smokes blunt outside his podcast studio, and I think he would be perfect.
This was his favorite show, I think.
Agreed.
So I think we need to do something a little more to help kids learn all this stuff. So since programming jobs keep growing by the month, it seems. We're
Mhm.
not doing a ton to help kids out before they hit college and get a late start compared to
Yeah, how do we
some
get
other
more?
cities.
I know, like, companies are always telling me they have a hard time hiring developers. I mean, that's true everywhere, right? Like, it's not just
Yeah.
a Connecticut problem. It's just like global. If you're not in the Bay Area, and even then, probably
I think, yeah, everywhere in the whole world. I would
everywhere in the
imagine.
whole world.
hmm
Hmm.
There's
So
a lot
just-
of people working on computers.
Yeah, but not enough.
No, what's the qualification aspect of that, Henry? That's
Uh,
what were you saying about that?
to my understanding, if you want to be like a math teacher in Connecticut,
Yep.
there is a certain, I'm not sure if it's a
You have
certain
to
degree you have to
slay
have out of
3
college or
math
there's like a test you have to
demons. Mhm.
take, but there's some actual qualifying standard you need to meet in order to be like a qualified middle school math teacher, for instance. And we just don't have any of that kind of qualification set up for anything technology related.
So is that precluding people from teaching in
I don't think it's
the
precluding
schools, or is
people
it
from
you think they're
teaching.
not
I think-
qualified that are teaching,
I
or
think
what?
anybody can do it. So you can just
Yeah.
walk in and be like, I can teach this, and just like read a book on CSS really quick and like try to do a web development class, but you kind of end up shortchanging the kids a little bit.
hmm How do you feel about programming classes in general in schools?
I wish I had one.
Really?
I'm from East Hampton, Connecticut. Back in
You don't have to
2000
admit that. You can just keep that to yourself. Like, there's no need to. We weren't asking.
When I was in
Sorry.
high school, there were no
In East Hampton.
there were no programming classes.
Yeah.
that was
I had,
cat's out of the bag.
I had to do some independent studies on my own, set up some curriculums to learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS. I think, to my knowledge, they're still using what I developed in that independent study like 8 years ago to
Hell
teach
yeah.
high school students.
Mhm.
some
Wait,
of
you
it
were in high
now.
school 8 years ago?
9, 8.5.
You
Ish.
fucking child.
But I didn't have an opportunity to do anything. I had to like teach myself. Eventually got to college, and I felt like I was way behind some of the kids who went to some better high schools who took 2 years of like AP Java and just had that much of a head start.
hmm
Yeah, I felt
understanding
that
all these
way
basic
even,
concepts.
even when I went to college, God, hundreds of years ago. Yeah, there were kids who'd already taken like programming. I'm like, what? Your high school like computers? The fuck is that?
Yeah, we did. That helped a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, I skipped the first class of programming.
Nice.
when
I
went to
took
UConn.
I took word processing in 1997.
hmm
On
I
an
took
Apple
keyboarding in
IIe.
1999
Yeah, I took keyboarding. Nice. That guy just gave us the spread eagle.
because he was a real
was a good
fun
one.
guy.
Yeah, he did a real power pose at us.
He did.
2 incidents this week. It's
Yeah.
not bad.
But I think that is important, though, getting those kind of classes because, like, and this isn't computer programming per se, but when I lived in Wisconsin, I did touch typing back in like 1992.
hmm
I don't know why. I mean, had computers even been invented? But I mean, I remember
Typewriters.
coming to Connecticut
So
and
cool.
doing it, and everyone's like, "What is this thing?" I was like, "I did this 5 years ago. I don't understand." You know, but
Yeah.
I mean, what a leg up that ended up being over
Yeah.
the years. Just
Yeah.
getting that exposure, even if it's not the best class in the world, and you're still using Henry's material from 8 years ago. You know, like just having
It
that
wasn't great
class
then.
Riddled with bugs to this day.
How fast do you type?
very slowly because I write a lot of bugs.
Last time I checked, like 116 words a minute.
Ooh.
You did a speed test.
Yeah.
I haven't done one of those in so long.
I do 135, and yeah,
Damn.
I get a lot of women.
Wow.
Is that on your Tinder profile?
Yeah, it's just like I type 135 words a minute. What is up?
He just floods them with text messages.
Oh, absolutely not. On a phone, I type very badly. I hate phone typing, and I've never got. People are like, "Oh, you'll get used to it." Nope, not my fat thumbs. It's just never. I just type bad.
Well, at some point you start expecting the phone to autocorrect you as well in weird ways.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so very fun answer for everybody.
I think the practical answer would have been turn the fountain on. Like, why is the fountain not on the green?
Is it not on right now?
No, I haven't
Not
seen it
really.
on all summer.
This is the day. I saw a leaking fire hydrant the other day, and I reported it at C-Click Fix. Was not fixed a week later. It's probably why the fountain's not working.
Yeah, all the pressure is over there.
I didn't know you were a hydrant narc.
Yeah. It's the first thing I reported in like 3 years. I just drove by and no one was around. It seems so silly. I'm like, water coming out of the hydrant. That's ridiculous. Someone solved this.
I wanted to report a pothole, and it was just like it's like what corner, and I'm like, well, it's basically the whole street. I couldn't really pick a spot. It's hard to fit it all into one shot on my phone.
You're past whole at that point.
I don't understand how they've been tearing up asphalt and just leaving it bare for 3 weeks before they like do anything about putting more asphalt down.
I don't know, man. You know how it is around here. Anyway,
You're supposed to let it breathe.
vote harp. Okay, so steal something. basically what we do is we steal something from another city that you would love to have in New Haven. It doesn't have to be realistic. You know, we've talked about the High Line. We talked about fun swings on the promenade. We've talked about I think somebody stole the Daily Planet from Metropolis, so that was fun.
Even fictional things can be stolen.
That's right. So don't feel restricted by the laws of physics or whatever reality. Henry, do you want
Go
to
ahead, Henry. Give a funny answer first.
All right,
Bear in mind, I'm still wearing the fun police hat.
Honestly, I'd really love to have a pedestrian-only street in New Haven. I know it's been brought up a few times. I've been shot down in various ways, but
Wall Street, already have it.
I usually bring it up and Colin shoots it down. Yeah, no, it'd be great. I don't know what the problem is. I've written whole articles about this. So.
I went to school in Burlington, Vermont. We just had this church street, like 4 or 5 blocks straight, just no cars allowed. Just ended up being a really
hell yeah, we're going camping there in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah,
you excited, Colin?
I'm very excited.
You bringing the baby?
Bringing the baby, man. I got a 6-person tent. Tried it out last week. It went great.
On top of your car?
Yeah, on top of my car. Amazing.
Colin finds weird products on Amazon and sends them to me, including tents that are set up on top of like cars.
Well, I was reading an article that was like the hottest new tent trends in 2019, and one was just a tent on top of a car.
They're
how many
goddamn
tent trend articles do you read?
So many.
Anyway, we're going camping there next weekend. It should be pretty.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
up around Burlington or just in Vermont?
In Burlington.
In Burlington.
All right.
Yeah, it's an annual camping trip. So.
Yeah, I think the closed street is a great idea. It's just the people that don't support it are like the very practical reasons, like the businesses that want parking.
But you can do it
and
like
deliveries.
you can, for instance, you can like just close it between the hours of like 8 a.m. and like 9 p.m. And then if you do deliveries, do them early in the morning.
That's
or, you know
exactly
what I mean?
what
Like,
Burlington does. They just open up the chains at all the cross streets.
It's
And
really not that
Yeah.
Cars come in the morning.
Problem. Like Anchor Spa is like, no, I need this truck to be able to like double park right in front of me so we can get fucking ginger beer. Like, really? Calm down. Cool. What else? You got anything, Steve?
I don't have anything particularly great for this one. I mean, I was going to say Riverwalk. You know, I mean, we got the river, we got the ocean right there. How do we not have a Riverwalk?
A Riverwalk?
Yeah.
Riverwalk.
San Antonio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Steal from San Antonio.
Okay,
they
yeah, I
got a
was
good
like-
setup.
So all we need
Should
is
I
a
know what
World's
you're talking
Fair,
about?
and then we'll have the Riverwalk left over.
We'll be all set. Yeah. No,
I
what?
think World's
What's the
Fair is a
Riverwalk? A
great
walkway
answer.
to the ocean?
No, they got like some nice canals, and then like all the you just walk down alongside it.
Like, I know that you
It's-
think my listeners are San Antonio experts.
Right. I'm assuming a lot of context coming into this podcast.
It is funny that you answer questions with like the base amount of information.
Right.
I assume you know everything that I know in my brain, so I'm going to skip all that.
It's a system of canals left over in San Antonio from a World's Fair some years back, and a lot of restaurants and bars and stores have kind of like set up operations around it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a good setup.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. All right. I would steal Amsterdam, just the whole center of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool. Plus the drugs are nice. It's
Yeah.
just fun to be able to eat space cake while you're walking around the city. You know what I mean?
I think you could do that right here. Nothing's stopping you.
Well, the law, but yeah.
I mean, we had our buddy
Zombie
outside
law.
just
Yeah.
doing his thing.
That's true. It is de facto legal here with decriminalization and whatnot.
Yeah. Vote Andrew Yang, no problem.
So.
Massachusetts is real close.
I don't know about anybody else, but I found a strong correlation between people who are excited about Andrew Yang and people who believe in lizard people.
Really?
Yes,
Do you
maybe
not?
it's just
Do you
my
not think
Facebook
Andrew Yang has interesting ideas?
I think he has perfectly interesting ideas. I just think that he's like a non-viable politician currently for president.
Yeah.
I think he could be a person who's like a senator or a congressperson, but I just think he's not there yet. Or
I think
whatever.
he's great. I think he moves the needle in great directions.
Okay. Universal.
Yeah.
I know you're a big universal basic income.
Absolutely.
Where do you guys land on this UBI?
I think it's a good idea, honestly.
You got to have something. Yeah, go ahead.
The amount of money it would take just to get everybody that, what was it supposed to be, like $1,000 a month?
$1,000 a month. Yep.
Frankly, compared to our defense budget, that's not a ton of money, and it's a really good way to just get people back on their feet,
That's
start
a
dumping
good-
money back into the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a win-win.
So it's like $3 billion a month.
Well, the idea with most UBI plans are that you would replace a lot of the social service stuff that we have already.
Yeah.
I mean, food stamps and rental assistance, and so I would say the plans that give even more than 1,000 are better because it's so much simpler. You reduce so many administrative costs and just a lot of hoops for people to jump through. It's much simpler. Just give people money. That's it. Go spend the money, and it's just increasingly more necessary.
Yeah.
That if you're if you're not a computer programmer, it's going to be hard to get a job in 3 years.
Cool. I have like mixed feelings just because I don't know. I think everybody should have access to like shelter, healthcare, and food. You know what I mean? Like nobody should go without those things. What the implementation of that is, ideally, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's hard to know because like a lot of people like their problems are so personal. Like a lot of people have drug problems, so like money is not so far from solving their problems. You know what I mean? So like. It's not that I don't think people can responsibly spend their own money. I just think that like certain problems are so like sort of destructive that like they need to be handled sort of more specifically, and they like kind of blow out all the other problems. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, drug treatment is certainly necessary, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's an issue on its own in terms of instead of even with that, you still need to just take care of people's basic needs and dignity.
Okay, so let's get on to the last question because we are about out of time, and that is Fuck, Marry, Kill. It's everybody's favorite game. Except for that Fantastic Baby. But I don't know. He might like it. Who's to say? Who's to say? Not him. He's not here. He's probably 2 rooms away from us right now. He's probably at a con of some kind. I was thinking either programming languages or types of tech jobs, which I think types of tech jobs is a more interesting. What do you think, Colin? Programming language?
What do you mean in terms of types of tech jobs?
Like DevOps, tech support, software developer. I don't know.
Those are 3. What else you got?
Healthcare IT. You could be a principal engineer. You could be a project manager. You could be like a front end designer. You could be a, how many more do I have to give you before you think this is a viable thing?
I'm thinking 3 or 4 more.
Yeah, I was gonna set the bar a little higher.
Nobody's gonna help me either, huh? It's great. It's great. I mean,
You're hosting us, man.
Well, what do you want? Programming languages, or do you want what? Tell me the answer. What do you guys want?
I feel like programming languages are something you can have a feeling about.
Okay, great. We'll do that. I agree that we should. If we haven't lost the audience by now, we should put
This'll
that
do the trick.
final stake in their heart.
You show them strong feelings about programming languages.
I know if you made it this far, you probably already programmed, so it's fine. Okay. So, who's gonna start? We just kind of
Is it a round table?
Yeah, it's just sort of all over the place. I sometimes try to do it in an organized. I usually do fuck first, like the language you will fuck with. So I'll actually say JavaScript with my fuck because I would love to learn React. I'd love to do a little more JavaScript-y stuff. I like it syntactically, but day to day I don't really use it a lot, and I don't necessarily have a use case for it in my day to day life. But it intrigues me, and I wish I did more of it. You know?
I would marry JavaScript.
Okay.
It's just fun to work with, and it increasingly just has more and more applications all the time. So
Yeah.
it's just I don't know.
Now that there's server-side JavaScript.
What's that?
Now that there's like Node and server-side JavaScript.
Yeah, exactly.
Functionality's increased quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not just a
And it's just fun to work with.
thing you ruin Firefox with. That's a joke about RAM.
Glad we got that one in.
It took a while, but we got there.
So I gotta make it to your set.
People sometimes are like, "Oh, you should write jokes about nerd stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I should definitely write jokes towards the 2% of the population." Don't worry, the other people will get it. No.
I would fuck Scala.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun language. Looks really elegant. Every time I see a problem solved in it, it's really integral in a lot of data science pipelines, which right now I'm very interested in. But I assume it won't keep my attention, so I'm not going to marry it.
Cool.
I definitely fuck Python. I feel like it's what I go back to whenever I get bored of everything else. Just like need a breath of fresh air. Just end up going back to Python, doing something small and fast.
Yeah, no, it's certainly great for that. I guess I would marry Ruby just because it's the only language I know with any level of competence. And I can like get something up and running pretty fast with it. So I know it, and that's really all I care about. Like I know that there's a lot of it has some deep flaws or whatever, but I know it, and it's like it does things in a way I can look at Ruby code and know what it's doing pretty obviously. You know what I mean? Which I feel kind of similarly about Python. I just don't use it, but yeah.
I would fuck SQL. I just like writing database queries.
Who doesn't really? You look at the planner, you can see the internals. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
I never thought you were a sociopath until the very moment. I was just like, what kind of person have I let into my life?
Oh, no, there's something great about just emerging from your office after 8 hours and your beard has grown a foot longer and you just made some beautiful queries. It's awesome.
I was telling these guys yesterday, as soon as I had to join more than 2 tables, I'm like, nope, I'm out of here. Somebody call DBA.
Well, like I was working on a project today where they had to get a bunch of data out of a database to put into a like a bar chart. And instead of making an elegant query that would get all that data together, they just created a loop that would do 24 queries, like incrementing a number. So it was just like terribly slow. Everything about it was awful.
You know why they did that? So they could charge them later for the performance increase.
Exactly. That's where I step in. Last guy sucked.
What about you guys? Love?
Good.
I would kill Ruby just because it's causing me hassle at work.
It's not my code that's causing hassle, right?
No, well, you didn't write any Ruby for us.
No, I didn't.
Nah,
just for that one Roman numerals thing.
I feel stuck with it because it's like adjacent to Python, and Python at this point is far more ascendant, has far more library support. It's just as verbose. It's just as elegant. Go away, Ruby.
But the Python, like, I don't know, what is it, Django, Flask is like their equivalent of Rails?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably Django.
Yeah. I don't know that I feel like it's as well support. I don't know. I couldn't speak to it.
No, I mean, I'm not saying, you can turn out web apps like that with
Yeah.
Ruby on Rails for sure.
Yeah.
It's just at this point, like, I just don't want to see any more Ruby projects because, like, I already got Python. I already got to deal with that. I don't
Yeah,
need more
fair.
of just slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is perfectly fine. Yeah. Henry?
I think I'd marry JavaScript for the same reason Josh wants to marry Ruby. It's just something I'm very comfortable with. I can jump into anything. If I need a quick web project, I can just toss Vue up. If I'm building like a command line program, I'm working on something in Node at work right now.
Nice.
Just very versatile.
Mm-hmm.
I would kill PHP because somebody should.
That's how I make a living, so I got to keep that around.
No, I know. It's a willing sacrifice. Little Henry, you had a good run, but yeah. What about you guys? Kill? Or whatever you're missing?
I would kill just collectively any number of front-end frameworks. I wish we'd all just coalesce on one thing because there's just too much shit, and I don't want to learn all of them. So
You want to learn TypeScript and then JavaScript
I just don't want to learn.
and then
Ember or bust.
CoffeeScript.
Yeah, let's just choose one.
Let's just pick one and yeah.
We just make one new standard to encapsulate all the old standards.
Yeah. Mhm.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, I would marry Python because that's what I always end up going back to for something needs to get done. Time to get it done.
Yeah.
And I would kill Cold Fusion because it was the bane of my existence for the past 2 years
I
of my
don't even
last
think you
job.
need to kill Cold Fusion. Isn't it just dying anyway? Like,
It's a very limping death.
nice. Yeah.
That was a terrible, terrible project to work on.
Nice. All right. Well, that about does it. We are over time. So, yeah. Thank you both so much for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
having
of
us.
course. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Check out. How do you even get in the Slack? Somebody asked me recently. I don't even.
If you go to our website, https://newhaven.io, there will be buttons to go to our meetup page, to join our Slack group, to see our Twitter.
I can't
Everything
believe
is
he
kind of
just
on that
did the
homepage.
HTTP://
No, did you even say HTTPS?
He did.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
No, port 443 or bust. Holy cow! I've never. Oh, well done. Cool. Yeah, check it out. Come join us. Talk about programming. Especially if you're not a white dude, we would especially love to pad those stats.
Even if you're
I was like, oh, I'm gonna say it, aren't I?
You say that like we're keeping track of it.
Yeah, it's true. We're not. But
even if you're just
KPI.
doing all this as a hobby, we'd love to have you come in and talk.
yeah, absolutely. And also, I am putting on comedy shows on September 7th at the Art Plus Studio at 9:30 p.m. and at Regal Beagle on September 14th at 8 p.m. I haven't booked either of the shows, but I'm sure they'll be hilarious and full of great comics. So I'll probably get that done before then. So yeah, come check out some comedy. Go to BetweenTwoRocks.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Busy people and lots of yellies, Worcester hipsters and fat up townies. We have more than pizza in common, with 2 rocks for bookends. New Haven, New Haven, New Haven. Between Two Rocks. Ba-da-da-da. 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 Between Two Rocks.